Hi, and welcome to TalkRx with Dr. Neha. Today I have a lovely guest, Teresa. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, Neha. How are you?
Good.
Good.
And Teresa and I have just met, but she is a brave soul, willing to ask her communication questions so that all of you can learn. So, what's going on, Teresa?
Well, coming to get to know you and finding out what you do, I was really fascinated with the fact that I could use communication to help me out in certain areas of just my life in general.
Yeah.
And then currently what's going on in my life is I'm having a hard time communicating my point to, say, a case in point right now, which would be some unruly neighbors. It's kind of turned into this sort of back and forth kind of tennis match between us, because at first I tried to be nice about it, kind of like they didn't care.
Yeah.
They kept it up, and then that just got my blood sort of elevated to a point where it started to boil. So then my reaction was a very negative one, full of, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Because they just wouldn't stop. And so now it's a back and forth thing, and nothing is helping. It's not working.
So you want to know how to break that cycle?
I do,
Yeah.
and do it in a positive way to where we all get along, because we have
Yeah.
to live next to each other.
Yeah. So it's amazing, right? When it's in your household or near your household, that's your sanctuary.
Yes.
Like that's the place that you're supposed to be able to come home
Yes.
and just be able to exhale,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so this whole idea, first of all, how long have you lived next to your neighbors?
I have been there for almost 6 years. They have been there for just about a year,
Okay.
almost. So they're the new kids in town.
Yeah.
I'm the one that's like they're coming into my neighborhood and disrupting it. I think that's why
what it feels like.
Yes.
Yeah, it feels
Yes.
like, listen, I've been here 6 years. I've got a little bit of seniority here.
Exactly.
And how dare you be so disrespectful as to
Yes.
come in here?
Especially
Okay.
when it's a very quiet neighborhood. Everybody knows that they're disrupting it.
So tell me what are they doing?
For instance, I have very thin walls, as do most apartments and townhouses. We have a townhouse. There's 5 units, and so you can kind of hear everything going on, whoever
Yeah.
is in direct, like next to you, next
Yeah.
to your wall. So one of the things that happens, and I've already told her, can you please stop doing that? When the closet doors are opening and closing, the track on the bottom is very loud. It sounds like almost like a very loud roller coaster, so to speak.
Wow.
And so can't do anything about that. That's okay. It's the fact that she is slamming it against the wall when she's closing it. They also slam their front door, and they slam their wrought iron door. It kind of makes me feel like maybe someone didn't teach them how to close a door properly, because everything is slam, slam, slam. When they have friends over, they will all go out and maybe have a cigarette, and they will be extremely loud. The thing is that in my apartment complex, the acoustics are like times 10.
Yeah.
So no matter what you do, it's elevated times 10. And they know this, but
Yeah.
because, they know this, but they just don't seem to care.
So it feels frustrating and you feel disrespected.
I
Is
do.
that-
And then, and their stereo system happens to be next to my wall in my living room. So when they crank up that bass,
Yeah.
and sometimes it'll be at like midnight on a Monday.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So we got the creaky roller coaster sliding doors.
Can't help
we
that.
got
That's fine.
the bass going on at midnight. We have the
Slamming the
friends and
doors.
the slamming of the doors.
Correct.
Okay. So when that happens, what happens inside you in that moment?
I get irritated because maybe I'm watching TV and it's hard to hear because the pounding of the walls with the bass of the stereo,
Yeah.
it's not that I can hear it, I can feel it. So the other thing is when maybe I'm going to sleep and they're being loud outside, I can hear it.
Right.
When she's slamming the closet door, sometimes it's 2 a.m. on a weekday. So I get very stressed out because I'm a light sleeper.
Yeah.
And I can't go back to sleep for like another hour once that person wakes me up. So there's those two things going on.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, it's really frustrating. And so this idea of how you approached her, right? So first of all, there's a couple things I'd ask.
Okay.
The first one is what has everybody agreed to? Who has sat down and created a set of agreements around noise in your complex, what hours is okay, what's not, and the impact of it? Do you guys have any agreement around that? Like when are quiet hours, when are not?
It's basically kind of what the landlord tells us, you know? And so I was going to tell you that that was an approach I made, sort of a roundabout approach without having to stir up confrontation.
Yep.
I would tell the landlord, and then she would let them know, but then they wanted to make sure that she didn't give them any kind of animosity, so they would fib about what they were doing.
Yep.
And there was really nothing she could do about it except for just tell them to stop. So technically there's maybe some kind of word of mouth, but you know what? That brings up a good point. I should check my lease agreement.
Yeah, we got to find out what
We
the
got to find
agreement
out what the
is
agreement
here.
is.
Because you're trying to enforce something that I'm not sure exists.
Right.
And that would be a lot of wasted energy.
That makes sense.
And then this other piece I think is really important, the piece where you say, listen, I've been here for 6 years and you've only been here 1 year.
Yeah.
Therefore, like, you need to be more respectful. You're coming into my territory. I think that's going to set you up to feel better than or more
Right.
senior, have more seniority. And you might come across a little condescending when you
Right.
speak to them. If that's something that's in the background for you, if it's something that's kind of running the show, but you're not aware of it,
Yeah.
your tone may come across in a way that puts them off or something. And then what it'll do is like trigger their, being annoyed with a parent.
Oh, she
who
thinks she's better than us.
or an older sibling or something. And so then you'll have this big mess. Okay.
That's where the ping pong comes in, I think.
And so this is what I'm thinking, right? Let's say you're them and
Okay.
I'm you. So there was one more thing actually before we do that.
Okay.
You went to the landlord, right? Which is almost like talking about someone, not to them. Right?
Right.
And I think our society does that a lot, actually. When I'm uncomfortable, it's a lot easier for me to talk about someone than it is to them. You want me to push back? Talk about me, not to me.
Right.
Because you bet I'm going to push back. Right?
Yeah.
So I think it would sound something like this. So I'm going to pretend it's you and I'm you and you're them. Right? So Teresa, when can we have a conversation? It'll only take about 15 minutes, but there's some ways that I've shown up in our relationship as neighbors that I don't think is working very well. And I wanted to apologize, and I also wanted to tell you how I think I can do it better. Is there a time that we could spend 15 or 20 minutes? When would be a good time for you? Do you see how respectful I was about that?
Absolutely.
So the thing that you want the most, you actually have to give it away first.
Right.
But mostly what people do is try to demand it of another. And that doesn't work very well. Right? And then when you're speaking to this person, I'd say, let me start by saying, I'm going to start with an I'm sorry. I have gotten frustrated over the past year. There's a way that I've been here for 6 years and things were going along quite well. And I didn't find myself very resourceful when things changed.
Sure.
And so I could see actually how it might not be very connecting in our relationship, that I spoke to the landlord and not to you directly. That was my mistake, and I apologize for that. I first should have spent some time with you. I want you to enjoy living here. I want you to have your friends over, and I want you to enjoy music. And I'm trying to figure out, like, how can I be a good neighbor to you and be accommodating while I make sure that I get the sleep I need to function the next day.
Right.
And so there's some ideas I've come up with, like I can use my earplugs. There's some ways that I can add to this. And I also just want to say, is there anything that I've been doing that has, kept you up or has bothered you that we haven't had the chance to have a direct conversation about?
Okay.
Would that be a different conversation?
I'm sorry?
Would that be a different conversation than the one that you've had in the past?
Oh, absolutely. I actually tried to make a peace offering, and so did they, and everything was going swimmingly.
Yeah.
But then they would just start over again, kind of like they forgot, maybe.
And one thing that's really true is behavior change. It takes time, and we're humans, and we've gotten in a way of doing things. And so even when you tell someone or they make an agreement with you,
Right.
you got to say it again. Like, hey, hey guys, remember? Like, or, I noticed we made this agreement and it doesn't seem like it's, last night I wasn't able to sleep. What happened?
Mm-hmm.
You just got to be curious about what it is that happened and assume positive intention. Because if you assume that they're here to make your life difficult, it's going to come across in your tone.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So what were some of your takeaways?
Basically, you want to communicate with them in a way that seems positive. Set up a time so that you don't...
hold on. That seems positive or is
that
positive?
Is positive.
Because we are doing some inauthentic cover-up communication here. Okay, you got to really feel it. People
that
know.
Is positive.
Yeah.
Set up a time, and try not to come across as you're better than me, and make sure that the communication is there so that they don't forget what your frustrations are. But again, in a positive way. These are my frustrations. Please tell me what yours are. Is there anything I can do?
And one time isn't going to be enough. Right? It's like any relationship. It's an ongoing journey. It's work.
Yeah.
And in a really good way. But it's time to build the trust again.
Yeah.
Right? And it's time to kind of build a bank account. So if you do need to withdraw, there's something in it.
Yes.
Right? And you guys have an emotional bank account that needs to be built together.
I like that analogy.
Yeah. All right. So for any of you that are struggling with a neighbor being loud or feeling frustrated, you think you've told someone something, well, first check if you have an agreement. That's pretty important.
Yes.
But the second one is, if it's someone you care about, you're in an ongoing relationship, they're your neighbor, there's some ongoing, relationship there, you might have to ask them more than once. So be patient, be curious, and it'll all work out. Just invest in that emotional bank account so that when you do need to ask someone to please stop or turn the radio down, they will be invested in you too. So thank you, Teresa. Thank you so much.
Very helpful.
Yeah, great. And good luck. You'll have to let us know how it goes.
I will.
All right. Until next week.